Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 412. I am your co-host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. The host was here briefly and flew out to another engagement. She's always so busy. Thank you for being here. Hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok if you're wondering how to do that. Let those likes flow. Let the overlords over there in big tech feel the enjoyment of this content and send it out there to more people. That's how it's done. But we're talking some Tobago issues here and about Tobago's predicament. And how do you get people to stand on their own? And if you keep giving them the THA morning work, would they ever stand on their own? Would they ever decide that, hey, it's worth it for me to stand on my own? Here's the reality. I think there are some people who would use those things and better themselves and yes, stand on their own eventually. But I don't think that's the case for everyone. I think there are people who would use that as just a means to get by. And many people do. Here's the interesting thing in how that works, at least the way I could see how that works. A diligent person who is interested in advancing themselves and their family, they wouldn't want to stay in those government jobs that, yes, it may pay a stable salary, but it's not going to elevate you over a certain level. They're trying to push forward more. They're going to, if they were there, they're going to leave and try to find something else and elevate themselves. So, to some extent, what you are doing is filtering out a certain group of people who would remain in those jobs the longest. Then, would it be any surprise if the public service seems to have less work ethic? Because maybe if someone had a great, serious work ethic and wanted to forge forward, they may have left. It's not, the public service as it stands, especially in Tobago, is not an alluring addition to your CV. The island's main revenue is a local tourism. There isn't the level of foreigners coming here. I agree. That's true. The island's job is tourism. But if you keep paying people to do nothing, they will not learn what the tourists want. It's similar to the problem I always see about like with those carnival festivals and fetes that the government sponsor. When the government kind of stays afar, maybe they give a small little subvention or something, you see that the fete promoters, what they do is they learn what their audience wants. Trinidad has fetes around the year. Listen, there was a fete last week, ram and cram, like if it's mid-February. Why? Because those fete promoters, the way they make their money is by finding out exactly what their audience wants, what their client wants, what their customer wants, and giving them precisely that. Because if they don't do it, they bust. They make no money, they go home with an empty pocket and face their families like that. But if it was the case that whether they threw a successful fete or not, they were paid the same, would they have learned it? There are some youth men, young men, they started this stuff probably barely 20s. Barely 20s, throwing a whole couple days of fetes in Tobago and it's successful. So you're trying to tell me youth men could make a successful tourism event in Tobago, and Tobagonians who live in Tobago their whole life don't know and have the influence and resources of the entire government and assembly behind them. They can figure these things out. And the solution then they're trying to tell me is, well, we have the tourists, so we had to pay everybody. You know how it is now. The people go struggle without the tourists. What? But on the crime side, though, Tobago, have your fears assuaged. The Prime Minister is here. We can fix crime in Tobago, says Rowley. PM calls for greater public involvement. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said on Tuesday that Tobago is not immune from the crime wave of violent crime that is being suffered by the people of Trinidad and Tobago, stating that he receives a lot of advice on how to ameliorate the development of criminal activity in Tobago. Rowley, who was speaking during a news conference at the office of the Prime Minister in Tobago, said, but a lot of the advice is rooted in an understanding that we could isolate Tobago from Trinidad, so that the bad things that are happening in Trinidad with respect to violent crime, firearms in the population, young and not so young people choosing crime as a business and a way of life, that we can isolate Tobago from that. Noting that Trinidad and Tobago is one nation, he added, there is no border between Trinidad and Tobago, so border activities that are aimed to separate the actions of one group of people from another is not available to the people of Tobago. If Trinidadians are wanting to come to Tobago for good, bad, or indifferent, it's a right and entitlement. What we could do is have aspects of policing and information gathering, because people move from one point to another, to be able to generate from that information evidence of their wrongdoing and then take the necessary enforcement actions. I don't know if as he said, the advice he's getting is like separating Tobago, somehow isolating it. As I've said, according to Tobago's own chamber on Black Rock triple murder, well, it's a quadruple murder now, Tobago is breeding criminals. Tobago Business Chamber President made the statement on Monday following a quadruple now. He said Tobagonians must take their head out the sand and realize the gravity of the situation. Tobago, we have to stop making the excuses that we are accustomed to making. We have to stop saying that it is gangs from Trinidad infiltrating Tobago. We have to stop burying our heads in the sand, whereby we refuse to acknowledge that we are raising and breeding our own homegrown bandits in Tobago. That's Tobago's own chamber saying that. And I tend to agree with him. I don't think Trini gangs are going over to Tobago to create those problems by all on their own. That's not how that works. I don't believe that. And the people who are dying aren't Trinis staying over in Tobago, or Trinis hiding out in Tobago. It's Tobagonians. I think like the vast majority of the murders were native Tobagonians. So it's either, if it's a Trini gang doing that, it's either that the one Trini gang is annihilating random Tobago, well, not random, but Tobagonians all around the island, all on their own, without any reprisal, because no Trini is in it. Or if it is that in some of the murders we heard so far, there were reprisals, because that's the tone that the police talk about, that some of this may be tit for tat. If both tit and tat are Tobagonians, how is that an infiltration issue? Sleeper cells responsible for gang migration to Tobago. The activation of sleeper cells in Tobago is responsible for this recent surge in violent crimes tormenting Tobago, police say. This was said at the Joint Select Committee on National Security, that there are a few major criminal gangs with sleeper cells in various parts of TNT. Ali said this was significant in an intelligence context for Tobago, where established gangs are continuing to seek other opportunities to establish lucrative drug blocks and easy avenues for expanding their drug and human trafficking businesses. Based on that intelligence, we are seeing that migration to Tobago is really looking to take charge of a territory that can be lucrative to the gangs, Ali said. I don't know if I agree with that sleeper cells business. Like, I am not too sure what he means when he says sleeper cells. I don't even know what he means when he says that. I'm sorry, officer. I don't understand what you are trying to tell me here. What exactly do you mean? When you say sleeper cell, what are you trying to get at? That there are some gangsters willing to stay on the low and they're just chilling there waiting for the call to activate? That's what's going on in Tobago? Yeah. That was Daddy's Day gift, girl. Well, white leather, I saw that to the Manchurian Candidate, but the typical, like, if you were to hire, what were the guys' name? Gideon, and was the Spencer and those guys from Criminal Minds. If you were to hire some criminal minds, and they came in here, and you're trying to get a profile on street gangsters who go live and post their own location and get shut up based on it. Street gangsters who choose profile names with their gang names boldly in it. Street gangsters who tattoo their gang names on visible parts of their body. Street gangsters who all but wear a gangster uniform when they move around. You think that these are the most coy people? That, these are the kind of guys that could keep a low profile and, work that sleeper cell. They're all dressing in polos and khakis and walking in rubber slippers across Tobago pretending they're keeping a low profile, but really they're number gang guys waiting on the call from the big boy. Really? Abu Friday asks, why is it so hard to accept the fact that Tobago youths like the fast life just as Trinidadians? Exactly. There are Tobagonians who like the fast life the same way. It's like the gangs basically seem to be headquartered in the north and the east, etc. But there are guys throwing up 7s and 6s and all kind of different numbers all about the country. There was a murder in Penal. Some young Indo-Trinidadian youth man was shot multiple times in his upper body and thrown in a wardrobe, and his house lit afire. Should Penal residents come out and say, this is them Port of Spain people come down and do? No, they are homegrown gangsters too. Come on, man. What are we doing here? And, talking about how Tobago wins and how Tobago succeeds in this whole economic thing. I saw an article talking about this. Let's jump into that article quickly. small eco resorts a better fit for Tobago? Independent Senator Anthony Vieira is urging the government to reconsider its preference for large brand hotels as a mechanism for development in Tobago. Given the impact on the environment, Trinidad and Tobago does not have to choose between jobs and the environment. We can have both, Vieira said on Friday in the Senate. While the desire to create jobs and bring business to Tobago is commendable, it ought not to be the case of one or the other, he said. He was piloting his motion on the adjournment on the need to update the country's environmental laws and processes and reconsider the presumed benefits of large brand hotels to small island developing states in the context of the global climate change crisis. Now, here's the thing. I think that global climate change crisis business could be thrown out the window. And listen, I know I am an environmentalist. I did environmental all the way up to university. But that global climate crisis business is not about science, that's about politics. We take that whole thing and throw it out the window. I don't like to hear them, anything with the gender and the UN, and leave me out of that. Our parliament is supposed to be discussing the issues that affect Trinidadians in a Trinidadian context. Ease me up on this global climate change business. But nonetheless, I do think, but big hotels bring flights, asked St. Vincent. I don't doubt it. Abu Friday, you're waiting for hell to freeze over also, sir? But I don't doubt that the small ecotourism may be an idea. Here's something I've been thinking about, that I had a thought about. Industrialization brought across a certain style of doing business, a certain idea of how best to run basically anything. Economies of scale. You're doing this as big as possible. But here's the thing. When I'm looking out at industries now, many industries are actually going in the opposite direction, because the reason that the industrialization, the industrial revolution did that whole massive economies of scale, everything is massive business, was because to a large extent that was the technology that was available. If you had to get technology to mechanize something into an industry, it had to be humongous. But here's the thing. We're over 100 years into this revolution. We're now into the technological side, the AI side. Many of the things that once needed supersized structures no longer need it. And in many cases, smaller units, smaller groups are much more dynamic, much more nimble, much more able to suit their audience. Maybe small, privately owned eco-tourism would work beautifully in Tobago. It might. I could see it. Ronnie, that's a Kixie story, eh? Port workers mashing up scanners. Just so. Ronnie, yes, I don't disagree that both can be done. But if you're focusing on something, like, for goodness sakes, if you're trying to be innovative, listen, Tobago is bussing anyway. If we attempt small-scale ecotourism and try to encourage residents to do it privately and learn about the thing and become attractive to their customers, what's the worst that could happen? We have to pay for Tobago to run again, as we constantly do? Like, for goodness sakes. And here's part of the problem when I'm thinking the large hotels. To me, to some extent, the large hotels are part of the same extension of the THA mentality. They get work from the THA mentality. We need a massive behemoth of a company, of an organization to come in here and tell us what to do and how to do it. And hire all of us and give us a nice monthly, a nice fortnightly salary so we could go out and work and make a living. Like, I don't think that's the best direction. Good evening, Scafty. Our citizens are sheep for the most part. They rather wait for a so-called 1% to do it than complain. Well, this is nearly what it sounds like here. And here's the thing. I don't believe that. I've been to Tobago many times, and nearly every time I stay in Tobago, it's by some small establishment where you meet the owner. Tanti there's the owner right there, she right there, and she has her customers that come, and they come every year, and she isn't poor. She is making a very lucrative living off of it. They do it already. People do it already. Word Karen 868, what up Tobago? I don't think it's necessary to view it that the only way we could solve this is by getting a massive conglomerate to come in here and do it for us. That to me is an extension of the THA morning work attitude. Why can't you figure it out? Why is it that the Benny Ball is tasting worse now than it ever did before? That's not an issue big hotels solve. The quality of almost all of those products you used to buy is down. People go in Tobago and nobody don't even ask them to bring back anything anymore because they ain't want it. Instead of moving in the direction where at every small ecotourism spot, every small little hotel, motel, guest house, you have a little canteen where they have some of the best because these people know that this is a point. If I could sell the better when I get customers based on my bet, but if you get in morning walk, you don't care. Let them choke on the Benny. Hi host, why are you up host? Ready to go sleep? You're not gonna go sleep? Yeah, you're gonna go sleep, right? Gonna go sleep? Say yup. Bunks? Alright, tell the people bye bye. I'm gonna go sleep.
Hello, good night.
Yo, best I go to Tobago and set up something, then they will say it's a gunman from Trinidad hiding. Exactly, Abu Friday. And for example, on that note, Abu, there are many Indo-Trinidadians who are of that entrepreneurial mind. Go over to Tobago and they figure it out. They aren't going there looking for morning walk. They know Tobago has money to be made.
Yep.
And they're making it. And you know what would happen? You know what would happen? Some Tobagonians, being ignorant, would be like, and watch them, they're coming over here to just take we thing, and they even giving nothing back to the people. Because you want, and I remember I had this discussion with Krimak, you want the businesses to come in, do business, and they must pay you after they do business. No, that's not how it works. The benefit you get is the business. If you want elevation, go do it yourself. Why must you be always the consumer, the customer, and the employee? That's your constant position. And the most imagination your mind can provide is just to be another variation of customer and employee. Why?
Okay, so hi, I was just going to give my 2 cents on the whole big hotel versus tourist. What is this?
Ecotourism. Small ecotourism spots.
Okay, that is all fine and good, and so it's definitely like there's good on the two ends, right? For one, I think as local tourists, we would want that. But international tourists, when they come, they want luxurious stays. So
I'm going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I know that I have some eco lounge that have like real fancy vibe, blah 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 blah, and that is okay. But it could only have so much of those, right? Whereas if you have a nice hotel, an all-inclusive chain that brings customers with it because it already has a name to it. It adds flights to the island, which Tobago suffers with greatly. 2 international flights a week, or 3 international flights a week. You understand what I'm saying? So that is a good thing. Now, you make a good point. It would be good on the ground if they did it, but nothing is stopping them from doing it currently.
That's true.
So if they aren't doing it currently, then what would make them do it?
Very good point. Very, very good. Listen, I was talking nearly in fantasy. Like if I was the dictator of Tobago and somehow I could have just made it happen. But how to make it happen is a whole other thing. That's why I made the point about all the times I stayed in Tobago. And Tobagonian, I tell regular Tobagonian tanties with their Tobagonian accent, but they drive in nice vehicle because they guest house making money. They know how to do it. Somehow they do it. Why can't others? So yes, I agree with that. I do get the international flights thing, and that you get the ready-made flights and audience. I agree with all those points. What I'm saying is the position Tobago already is in. They're already getting minimal flights. This is actually, like like they say, rock bottom is a good place to be because it's just the place to start over. It's a good place to start from there and build the brand of what you're looking for. Okay, many international tourists want the luxurious hotel stays. But would we have the most luxurious hotel stays in the world? No. There would be other places you could get that luxury better. So can we bill ourselves as the place for the most luxurious stays? I think not. But we are unique in our bird watching. The amount of unique birds that we have. That's something. The main ridge is, I can't remember all of the uniqueness that it has, but it has some uniqueness in terms of its ecological traits. There are those things. And here's the thing. Yes, lots of international tourists want that luxury. But I think in the world of 8 billion people, it would be very easy to find enough people to constantly fill Tobago around the clock that are interested in ecotourism. There are places in the world where all they do is skiing and the things around skiing. Entire communities. And they survive on skiing. You would see like how many skiers in the world. People in the world want warm beaches and white sand. Why would you think to build your entire economy around skiing in the ice? Are you insane? Well, if it's ice you ski. If you have beautiful trees, flowers, and unique plants that came over from the mainland, might that be something to sell? That's the view I have on it. Now, I understand on the other side how exactly to do that is a difficult thing. I am a firm believer in incentives. I believe humans work on incentives. Humans don't work on seesaw. Humans don't. It doesn't work like we say Tobago, start doing ecotourism, please, and all Tobago just becomes an ecotourist paradise. That's not how it works. I think people work on incentives. How to incentivize that? That may be something that needs quite a bit of brainstorming. The most tourists I see in St. Vincent is during cruise ship season. Government's dime, so to get another resort, the state has to build that and lease the name. And that's the thing. I am not even thinking that level. You lack imagination. Listen, I could build a 20 by 20 shack in a forest somewhere in Tobago, put a mosquito net and a nice bed, and that's an ecotourism getaway.
But well, that is also a thing though. There is the community of Castara in Tobago who has taken that venture, and they did it as a community. No help from the THA. Well, I mean, like when I say no help, very minimal. I don't know if they had any, but they did it as a community. So they thought of activities and they do it. The villagers do it. They have places and they don't compete. So you eat here, or you drink there, or you party here, or you do this, you stay here, and you literally have to book months in advance to stay at places.
You see, but Ronnie, the proof of what I'm saying is right there. And you're telling me that can't happen through the entirety of Tobago, basically. That similar idea and model.
Well, you have to get the people, and that's the thing. If you have to get it, man, if you have to get it from so many people, it's easier just to buy it from one big brand that could do it.
I understand that.
It's easier that way.
I understand.
I mean, if you want to organically grow and then take 100 years for Tobago to be like the eco spot of the Caribbean, which is
of the world.
Dominica Republic, like Dominica, not Dominica Republic, Dominica, the island of Dominica is already the nature isle, you know.
But Ronnie, here's the thing with nature. I don't want to judge you, but you sound like someone who doesn't like nature viewing very much.
Yes, I do.
Because people who like nature viewing understand that different locations are different. I like nature. Dominica doesn't give me the same thing that Tobago gives me.
That is correct.
If Tobago has that what you're talking in Castara, now you just go because I want to go Castara the next time I come. I feel I have to start to make my booking now.
I have to make my arrangement.
I have to make my arrangement now. That sounds like something I'd like. But if Tobago has that experience, someone might go, just as you're talking about they do inside of Castara. You think people won't do that in the Caribbean? I'm going on an eco round trip in the Caribbean. I stop at Dominica, I spend a week in the forest there, and then I stop in Tobago and spend a week. You know what's going to eventually happen? All of those universities, when their natural science faculty wants to do their outing, where are they going to go? Instead of going in an Amazon forest retreat or going in Central America, all of a sudden we have a pristine tropical marine environment. We could go and stay for a while. My goodness, man. Instead of what was PDP leader talking about an aeronautics station or some kind of ridiculous nonsense. So well, tell that to the smaller developers on the Fun Padu Road, like North Deck, world class and successful. Exactly. Another example. And people do that out of their own pocket. No one has to force them to do it. So I understand what you're saying, Ronnie, to get the people to do it. And I guess that's the problem that we were talking about in Tobago in the first place. Make full circle on the Tobagonian problem, as it was.
That's okay. One day I will do it. I'll bring in a big chain. I wouldn't do that. I love the environment. Like, don't get me wrong, I do, but it's a bit tiring, I guess.
I understand. Listen, if I was a politician and the country needs to make money and all this thing that we can't get a to do the thing. Here now, forget this. Hey, Hyatt, call up Hyatt or someone and them. Like, we just get this thing over with.
Yeah.
And give me a kickback one time.
If you start doing it now, like Castara did it, but they got a community backing, right? But if I want to do it on my own, that's like coming to what, like you on TikTok and you see a video and it's part one and it only posts 30 minutes ago. So you ain't getting that part two until next 2-3 weeks. So you there by yourself just chilling. It's difficult. It's a difficult
It is. I agree. But not impossible.
Yes, I guess not.
Also kind of branching from Tobago, but an interesting thing. Let's browse this discussion before we dive out. let's check this out. An interesting thing. Thank you, Miss Hackett, for ending SEA ranking. This is a letter. A letter written to Miss Hackett. I would like to congratulate Miss Zoraisha Hackett, or Zorisha Hackett, THA's Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, for her excellent leadership this SEA season, for putting this ranking thing of SEA students to an end. Her decision is logical, reasonable, and a fair assessment of all stakeholders involved in the SEA process. I agree with her. There is no correlation between the SEA top students and the school they attend. Some children are taking extra lessons. It would go to the students whose parents invested in the extra lessons to prepare them for the exams. That does not reflect the input of the school and the student or the student's year group. Like Secretary Hackett's approach, her focus on overall school performance will reflect the school's delivery of an SEA curriculum to that year group and what is being taught in the classroom during school hours. Not all the children will have access to extra lessons, and yes, not all children will learn, grow the same way, or get the same grades, and that's where the school's overall performance kicks in to cover all these factors. If we look at the distribution of these grades, then we can close the gaps school by school. It will celebrate the school's victory in SEA because that's where her portfolio channels resources into, and that's where results are expected. I want to hear your opinion first.
I read parts of the story, not the story, but the story first when she announced we will not be celebrating the first place student, we will be celebrating the school that did the best. And then she went on to say the first place student didn't even come from like the top 3 schools or something like that. So for me, I thought that would have been worth celebrating. This is, she called it an anomaly. This student that came from a school that didn't even place in the top 3. You're not celebrating a child because of whatever reason, but you're celebrating schools that not placing children in the top. That makes no sense.
Listen, this is the most disgusting communist drivel I've read in a while, where what we aim to celebrate is the group. So the individual's effort is erased. The group is paramount. That is literal communist rubbish. And I hate it. The idea that what you're looking for is the school's performance, the general school's performance, as if the school's performance cannot be matched just how a lessons is given to a student. Don't you know schools select who they'll allow in the school? So now what that does, here's what that does really and truly. The anomaly of a student from backyard primary school whose parents put in the extra work and they excelled, and it would have shown because of the other students who have their other things, they have the farm to take care of, that school will never place in the high ranking. But the prestige school, where the parents donate a computer to get in, to get their child into first year, there are schools like that, just in case anyone doesn't know, public schools. Those schools, because they could do it generally, when you check up the average, they would always have the average. So this doesn't benefit the smaller, this actually benefits the elites. So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen? When you see the last place school, that school is going to get more money the next year? No, that's not what's going to happen. Now the celebration has been removed from the first student and placed on that first institution. So the principal and the staff and the former heads, you know, they could take the pride and they could take the celebration away from the children. These are nasty people, man. How are you going to do that to the children? How are you going to do that to the children?
You make that sound harsh, boy.
Because it should be harsh. This is a nasty attitude where you look at individual children and that bothers you that they put in the effort and are celebrated for it. That's life. And communists hate that about life. Communists hate that the person who puts in the extra effort would excel. So here's what, we're all going to fail together. That's what goes on. And you look at communist countries over and over through history, that's what happens, you know. It's not that everybody gets wealthy together, because that's what the author of this letter is attempting to say. When we do this by the schools, we'll see which schools are failing, and you know, we'd help each school get up there and decrease those gaps. That's not how communism usually works. You don't elevate everybody. You shrink everyone to the lowest level. That's what the communists do. Because you realize it's actually much harder to elevate the lowest. When you go to Backyard Primary School and you see that Backyard Primary School gets 75% of their intake students from rural families where the children are doing farming duties part-time. They aren't focused on school like that. Within 5 years of leaving primary school, quarter of the students are already into a trade. How do you propose to decrease the gap between Backyard Primary and elite middle of the city primary school? How do you propose to decrease that gap? Forcing the village and farming children to leave their farms and stay in school for extra hours? Is that going to help anyone in that village? How are you doing that? Or is it that the one farming child who would have excelled and his name would have been across the entire country, or her name as the case may be, that child now, all you know is you from a failing school. Your school is 10th. Like what you said there, Ronnie, I got the spirit of elitism from that. Like it's an anomaly, so that's why we shouldn't. It's an anomaly, so that's why you should celebrate it. And you know what annoys me? You know what annoys me? Because this has a cultural and an ethnic line to it. Many people that I hear always complaining about the competition in the SE and da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da and don't put the placement are regularly people of the Afro culture and ethnicity. And then when you look at the performances, let's check this article. SDMS schools excel in SEA. The 43 Sanat and Dharma Mahasabha primary schools have seen an increase in the number of students who passed for 7-year schools after setting the 2024 SEA exam. So said the Secretary General of SDMS. You know which organization always up and down the place wanting to make sure all the placements are always there? You know which organization? SDMS. So, you with your failing community that is falling behind, one instance, you know, we are so magnanimous and equitable. Let's not say who the top performing students are. We'll do it by school. And the SDMS, they're clawing away at it from the bottom there. We want everything you're willing to give, release it. Release all of the information because we want to know how the children perform. I, as a parent, I would like to see how my child performed comparatively. People would like that.
Well, people who do well, people who don't do well would love to hide behind the collective number.
Ronnie, doesn't that betray something? You're punishing the people that did well for the benefit of those who didn't. And remember, as I said before, humans work on incentives. If you punish the people that did well in favor of those who didn't, what are you incentivizing? Doing well? Why do you think we give trophies and medals and prizes to the people who do well and to the first place? When you look at the Olympics, and these men bolt off from the blocks and run down 100 meters, and the person who comes first gets a gold medal. And even if you qualify for the final, but you come 8th, you get nothing. No medal, nothing. Why? Because if there wasn't a prize for first place, do you think they would have run at 9 point? What's the record? What's Usain record? Is 911 or something ridiculous like that? You think you was getting Usain to run that just for kicks? That's what the prizes are for. Is it any surprise then why the schools that focus on rewarding excellence see excellence more? These things annoy me so much.
More to that, I think Tobago has always suffered with the issue of schooling because, to me, in my opinion, based off results of people that I know, I was talking to my co-worker whose daughter wrote an essay, and she was telling me her daughter told her she didn't finish the creative writing. Mm-hmm. And you know that's a big part. That's a big plenty schools don't reject you for low creative writing. You would have high maths, high English, low creative writing. You don't want to, right? And her first choice was bishops, and I was like, girl, forget bishops. You messed up. Forget bishops. And that was that. We went on. I have some friends in Trinidad, and what she did with her two daughters who wrote essays, she used to let them read the dictionary, find a word. Every week you find a word, and that's your word of the week, right? Because they're young, so you're gonna get them a word every day. And before they did the exam, she told them, pick one of your words and make sure and use that in your creative writing. Obviously, because you want creative writing to be high. Great. All of this I was explaining to my friend in Tobago. And when results came out, she sent me the results. I didn't get it one time. I got my Trinidad friend results first. And even though her two daughters who were really, really bright and did the whole English and this and that, one daughter passed for St. George's and one passed for St. Charles, right? Mm-hmm. You know, my friend in Tobago, her daughter passed for Bishops, which is supposed to be the number one school in Tobago. I was like... But
they've been... Oh. The ministry has been playing around with placement probably easily a decade now, even across political parties. They've been attempting to place students by location. So that does some strange things. You see people with higher grades end up in some schools that make you like, wait, what? And then some people end up in some places and you're like, how? But it's a very opaque process, really and truly. And I guess if you stop publishing individual results, the process being opaque is quite fine.
Okay, well, I was shocked because how? How you end up there? That's strange. That's how Max was not well, the creative writing was 15, which that's a secondary school. So anyway, pick up everybody on them with their marks and stuff, but I found that to be a problem because plenty of the other people who have children in my office, and I asked them, what school you want your child to go to? And all of them would just be like scratching their head like, I don't really know. So it goes to show that the secondary school education level in Tobago is quite low. It's really, really low because anybody in Trinidad, they ask them, where you want your daughter to go? In first year, they don't know you're going Bishops, you're going St. Joseph Convent, Fatima, CIC, QRC. They already have an idea where they want their child to go.
Yeah, I get you. That's true.
Standard 4, and you don't even know where your child to go. It's standard 4. So that's just all I have to say. So
the focus is different too. Mr. Speaker asks, are schools for students competitions? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. Everything to some extent is competition. You're striving to get into limited places. You're striving to do things that not everyone can do. That is by literal definition, a competition. Now, does that mean that you'd be focused on the aspect of superiority one over the other? No, but you're focused on the aspect of striving based on what your neighbors are doing also. Like, you see, many of you all that never went to prestige schools don't understand what many prestige schools give. The teaching is the same. The curriculum is the same. Many prestige schools, the labs and facilities are worse. But the competition, the water that they are swimming in, it's a statement I use in teaching in Mindful Education, the educational institution that I run. That's the sponsorship for all of these shows. If you are interested in those educational services, be sure to get into contact with us. But it's a statement that I regularly use. The aim for us when we're doing our pod learning and those classes, we, especially for the younger students, we're creating the water that they swim in. The fish doesn't know the water that they're swimming in. And in prestige schools, what usually happens is they swim in a competitive water. So, an exam is coming, they're competing to learn things. They're competing, they want to know who could perform better. And that is going to draw out more from them. Or no, you would prefer, let's all not compete. Everyone's a winner. Oh, sir. Everything is equitable here. No one loses. No one wins. What are you talking about? That's not reality. And you'd meet children that are ill-adapted for the real world. They go out there expecting that things are supposed to just unfold for their benefit, that there's no scrapping and scraping and fighting for it. But that's literally life. I mean, as humans, we've built complex societies that make certain aspects of life easier, but that is what life is. Go watch the animals. I don't get it. It is a competition. And competition isn't a bad word in that sense.
Yeah.
You kind of want that.
But as the person was saying, Abu Friday, very good point, Abu Friday, about children not making the points, and I can understand that. Not making the place when they make marks and they don't get it. Of course, that could be, let's call that demotivating. But I think learning to place your child, you cannot put bishops as your child's fourth choice. They will not get in. So this is why the teachers always tell you, put a good first choice, a okay-ish second choice, well, a good-ish second choice, a okay-ish third choice, and a fourth choice of a school that you don't mind your child going to, but wherever. But some parents just go down the line.
Yeah.
St. George's, St. Joseph Convent, St. Francois, Bishop Second.
St. George's could work as a third choice actually. St. George's isn't that high of a.
St. George's College.
Yes.
Is that third choice? You say
it could work. St. George's isn't the highest performing of schools, you know.
But it's one of the better schools too.
St. George's, you don't know St. George's is a government school, right?
I do, but they produce great students.
And they are not the best performing government school, even of government schools.
What's best? Like, okay, what's better?
Couva Government Secondary is the best performing government school.
Bye.
I could tell you, you could go and Google it. It's not. But
St. George's.
But that's neither here nor there really and truly. But your point is true. And like when people talk about all the schools are supposed to be the same, that's what they're not understanding. The idea of it, Abu Friday, you're right. Yes, some children still wouldn't make it even though they make the mark. But that's what the competition is about. So the top, the aim is we have a school that we have a school that caters to the top 5% of the students because we want them to accelerate at that top 5% level. Okay, you may not be in that 95th percentile. You are 94. Or you made the 95, but there were 5 students who made 96. So you got bounced out. That's the reality. But the idea is, as you were saying, Ronnie, it's not that you have prestige and then fall out. There are levels to this. And that was the idea of our education system, till a set of equitable-minded people tried to turn it all into, it's all the same. Everybody goes everywhere and is treated all the same and do the same thing. That makes no sense. You don't get the best out of the students, and you'd frustrate a whole heaping lot of them too. That the idea was, okay, we have that accelerated group at the top, we have another group of accelerated there, another group of accelerated, and we're going down at the speed that you're capable of, And the idea is, you do not actually want someone who is a slower speed person in that realm among those in the higher speed. Like, in education and in things with knowledge, we tend to be confused about this. But with sports, we understand it perfectly. Many people do that, Abu Friday. And you know why that works also? Because sometimes the child wasn't in a good place when they tested at SEA. So the grade they got at SEA wasn't a good reflection. And people make this point, it wasn't a good reflection of their ability. Okay, well, transfer the next year. Show us you can do it. All right, you could do it? Grand. You go to the place where you excel better. That's not a problem. As I said, these things in sports, it seems so obvious. You can't make the first team, you make the B team. That's how it goes. There are men who have benched their entire life of football. That's how it goes. There are some people who were playing basketball when they were 12, 13. Their friends got a growth spurt and became 6'8". They stayed short at 5'4", and unfortunately, they were just a really good sweater at basketball. That professional basketball dream had to die. It happens. Everyone doesn't have the same ability.
I just want to clarify what you're saying here. St. George's is not a very good school.
I didn't say that.
Listen, I feel...
Here's what I'm saying. If you're placing as your first choice NAPS, and you're placing as your second choice QRC or something, I know those are on opposite sides of the country, but I'm talking about in terms of rankings in ability to get in. If you have NAPS, QRC, St. George's is actually in the ranking, not an...
St. George's is up. When you pull your paper, St. George's is up in the... Is it not in the 90th percentile?
I don't think so. At least the last I knew St. George's was mid-80s.
St. George's College in Bataria?
Yes.
That's the what we're talking about?
Yes. Last I recall, they were mid-80s, I think. I don't think any government school is 90s.
Okay, probably. No, listen, because I convinced my friend to put as a daughter first choice.
It's not a bad school. It's not a bad school. That's not what I'm saying.
If she could have got better, she should have got better, right? But that was my fault. Because I didn't know.
Anyway, it's not a bad school. And when I was in primary school, I liked St. George's because St. George's was one of the few colleges that was actually co-ed.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's always a plus. For the young mind, that's always a plus. But it's not a bad school. It's not a bad school.
Like everybody, most of the people I know from that school got scholarships. They always leave with first certificates, Form 6 always, It
is a good school. I'm not saying it's a bad school at all. We were just talking about the levels of schools. Like NAPS, and St. Joseph Convent are not actually at the same level. You know that, right?
Well, I mean, kind of.
NAPS, St. Joseph Convent.
Well, yeah, I guess not, but I mean, when you're talking about South schools.
Alright,
Like,
let me see in the north. In terms of studying, St. Mary's CIC, what's it? Fatima.
Well, of course, everybody know that.
Well, everybody know that down south too. Oh gosh, I had to get an example that you understand.
No, because I think the problem also with the East-West corridor and town specifically is that most of the competition is centered there under St. George West block of the country. So I know probably, and I know South has stiff competition mainly because of the SDMS people. That's the name.
Yes.
Right. Gosh, don't feel no way. That is the truth. That they are very competitive with the academics. I know them, so have the competition, and they'll have really good schools. So that's where I was going with this. That's where I was thinking.
Yeah. There's that competition, and that competition sorts it out certainly. All right. People, that's all I have for now. My younger brother left with a duffel bag of O-levels, mostly science from St. George's College. I don't doubt you. As I said, I know St. George's. I knew people who went to... I was trying to explain. It's like if I say the iPhone is seen as a more premium phone than the Samsungs. I'm not saying Samsung is a bad phone. I'm just saying in the view of how people view premium, one is more premium than the other. So, nobody naming Prayers Perennial President. Yes, we were talking about girls' schools though. And Prayers is Central and South. We have people who don't understand Central and South here. We have those kind of people in the chat, so we have to get examples from beyond Grand Bazaar to help them out. Us down Central, we understand this. Like Kuvasek is a good school, but Kuvasek Prayers. That's an example Central people will understand.
Why not going down south to school?
What? Ronnie, don't let me start that, Ronnie. Ronnie, don't let me start that. Ronnie, don't let me start that. You know how much people lining up from everywhere in the country to go naps and press? Don't start that.
I don't know.
White leather is actually better than most. It ranks better, I think, than QRC Fatima.
Who is that? Who?
Read the chat.
Press? Who was it?
Look at the scholarships. Look at the scholarships. They don't lie, as White Leather said.
Well,
the GPS does stop by Monroe Road.
Exactly. We don't know those places.
Trini Hotep, word up. Well, that is why your education subpar. Us down in South here know how to learn. We know what learning is. We know how to learn the thing. You understand?
Okay, great. But I don't know much boys. There's an epidemic of boys, male child. All of my friends made girls.
Well, naps is nap, and SAGs was over naps for a while. But naps take SAGs too. If you're looking for premium girls, it's down south. And the best St. Joseph
is Kuva.
Nah, Kuva is St. Joseph.
No, it's Holy Faith.
Holy Faith is Kuva. No. Don't go there. Don't go there. Cancelled.
Just have better people, more educated people.
Scratch that.
I wouldn't know that. But is it really better people, more educated?
We are South supremacists in the house. In the house, we are South supremacists out here.
SSS, that's what's going on there?
The top girls school in the north is, well, SAGs and If you're talking tongue side is what, bishops?
Nah,
Tongue bishops isn't still rated high?
I wouldn't say that.
What would be the top town girls' school, generally speaking? St. Joseph's?
Yeah, I think so. Convent.
I know Convent and Bishops has had some competition.
And for the East, I think I would go Lakshmi Girls.
Well, isn't the East with SAGs too?
Yeah, they're right across from each other.
You would go Lakshmi Girls over SAGs?
To a degree, yeah.
Alright. Okay.
Holy name is where's called that? White Girls High School.
Hello.
White Girls Junior, sorry. Same thing with
St. Anthony's?
St. Anthony's.
Fatima ain't had nothing on St. Anthony's. Fatima ain't on the St. Anthony's level. Anyway, I was going. People, it was nice. SAGs, no, I think NAPS took them over Militant Rockstar. Check the stats for real. I think NAPS took them over. I mean, they are in the same association, so it's not like it's that serious. But I believe NAPS took them over.
But when I make my turn, I think I come in Central to live any.
Must.
Yeah, Central is the place to be.
But Rhea, you come in 11:30. What you expect to hear? But alright, folks. People,
Yeah.
I'm out. Laters.
Bye.
You now done work? Sheesh.
Damn, Rhea, message me now.
See?
Central.
If you was a housewife,